Hello guys, welcome and welcome back to my channel. It is me again, Thlologelo promise Rampa, the girl from the Kwandebele, the Siabusa of the Mpumalanga in South Africa, in Africa. Yes. I don't know why I had to put that in, but yes, that's me. And this is Relocate to Australia with Promise. Guys, it is and will always be your #1 DIY relocation platform. This is the place where if you're looking for information on how you can relocate to Australia or anywhere else in this world, not only that, but also how to settle when you get here, how to find things, how to navigate this whole space. Because guys, if you're going into this without the research, the proper research and the knowledge, it's gonna be hell. But remember, you don't have to do this alone. I am here for you guys to give you the information that you will need when you come to this country, and hopefully it works for you and you use it in a way that can help you in your situation. I don't know, but use what you can use, and whatever that you don't need, give it to somebody else. So don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, the notification thingy, the notification bell. Yes, ring that thing, and do what people do when they are in this part of town called YouTube. Guys, I also want to thank my 2,000 subscribers. Child. It's been almost a year of having this channel because I started it on my birthday. It's October. I love October because it is my birthday month. On the 22nd. So I started my channel last year around the 22nd because it was like a birthday gift to myself. And now, I feel like it's a blessing that God has given me the #2. So I'm really grateful for all my 2,000 subscribers, guys. I think it's now 2005. Yes, thank you so much, guys. Thank you so much for the support. When I started this thing, I did not think anything was gonna come out of it. #1, I want to thank God and my ancestors for really whispering this into my ear and saying, child, just do this, we got your back. So thank you so much, guys, for the support. I really do thank you. The other thing, guys, I've got dreadlocks. Okay, like I feel like they are coming together. You see, they're coming together. In the beginning, when you're starting dreadlocks, it is a horrible. It's horrible. But I feel like also having this YouTube channel helps me to document my dreadlock journey. So I cannot wait to have them very long and very stylish. Anyway, guys, I need to get down to today's business. So I know you guys have been waiting for me to have a discussion about renting and accommodation in Australia. So here we are today. One thing that you need to understand about renting in Australia is that renting here is very regulated. Well, look, literally, everything here in Australia is regulated. Like, they've got so many rules and so many guidelines and so many paperwork and so many English. It's like too much English. You're just like, can we just do this thing and just live our lives? But they're like, no, there's this rule and this rule, and you're like, there's so many rules. And I know there might be some countries that are more regulated than Australia, but Australia is really, really, like, it's one of those countries where there's so much regulations. I do see the good side of it, but sometimes, when you come from a third world country where sometimes things are like relaxed, when you come to a country like this, it's really a huge adjustment. I always explain to them at work that, in South Africa, sometimes I miss Africa. Yeah, there's a lot of regulations here. So in the rental space, everything is regulated as well, like literally from the beginning of the process to the end. There's always a contract involved and all of that. The reason why I'm saying this is because I'm from the village. I always say this. I feel like in all my videos I always say I'm from the village, but in all honesty, I'm from the village, from Maganagusha, Siabuswa, Khobokwani in Mpumalanga. So with us renting, I've never rented when I was back home because, I've rented. I'll explain to you how I've rented. I've not really ever rented. No, I have rented. The only time I've rented in South Africa was when I was in varsity in Johannesburg. So yes, to complete my studies, I had to rent, like, get student accommodations, which was very different to how I'm used to things being done in the village. So in the village, if you come from the village in Africa, when you're from the village, you don't have to go through a rental agency or draw up a contract with someone. Sometimes you don't even get to pay a deposit in the village. You pass by Mam Sibanyoni's house, and when you see Mam Sibanyoni having a garage, and Mam Sibanyoni does not have a car, Mam Sibanyoni does not even have a husband, or Mam Sibanyoni has a husband that does not have a car, no one in that house have a car, what are they doing with that garage? You talk to Mam Sibanyon. Mam Sibanyon, can I rent in there 500 per month? Mam Sibanyon is like, no problem, my child. Then you can rent Mam Sibanyoni's garage, and you are living in Mam Sibanyoni's garage, and there's no problem. Here sometimes it becomes a problem. I I think especially for an immigrant, it will be a problem. For people that have been here, in my head, I'm thinking, I'm not too sure. But for people that have been here and they've got relatives, I believe they are maybe able to have like a living arrangement with a relative in their yard. But you as an immigrant, you would have to get your own place. For people that have rented in places like your Johannesburg and Pretoria, it is a similar process, I think. Yeah, I think it is a similar process. But here, the competition is very high regarding rentals, and sometimes people really do struggle. But we'll go into it when we go into it during this conversation. It is a very competitive market depending on where you live. If you're in the city, obviously, I think there might be a lot of people applying for like one place, and it's like survival of the fittest. Whoever has the best application, or maybe the landlord or the people handling the paperwork, trust you, and you've got a good what do they call it, rental history and all of that, of which when you're an immigrant, that's something that you will not have, because but you can always explain it and they're usually fine with that. But it really depends on where you're going to be living, and I guess if God is around the premises at that time when you are applying. It's not that people cannot afford to rent. It's more of like that supply and demand issue where there's just not enough houses offered for rentals. Because as I've said in my previous video, you're going to have to get short-term accommodation when you arrive in Australia. So it can either be like a hotel. I had a friend of mine that was suggesting also hostels. This would be obviously for people who are either single or relocating without family. I'm not too sure if you'd be able to take I'm not too sure if you would be able to take your family to a hostel. I don't know. But you can always research that. So that will be short-term accommodation. So you don't want to spend a lot of money in a hotel or a short-term kind of stay situation, because they tend to be very expensive. And you're going to end up like buying a lot of takeaways. And it will really set you back on your money, because it's going to be too much money injected into something that's no good. So you would need to get a rental as soon as possible. So if you're going to be going to a place where they've got issues with renting, then you need to be prepared and start making your applications in time. And also find ways to navigate around the challenges. Like, for example, if you are unable to get accommodation in the time frame that you were hoping to get accommodation, then what is plan B? Okay, so make sure that you do your research thoroughly and properly, where you know where you're going, what is going on in that area, do they have any renting issues, how much is it, do your research. The other thing that I will tell you guys is that renting in Australia is very expensive, right? However, sometimes the prices differ from when you're in the city or when you're in a rural area, and the competition is different when you're in the city or in a rural area. Okay, one last thing, guys. I nearly forgot this very important piece of information: how much you should be expecting to pay for rent in Australia. The price range is between $100 to about $600-700 a week. Yes, I know it sounds crazy, but it does happen. And here I'm just talking about your normal rental, like for the working class. I'm not talking about like business people who are rich and renting very expensive houses. These are just for your normal middle class, working class families. Okay, so anything between $100 to about $700. It is very important for you guys to be very, 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 very mindful and very selective of the accommodation that you're going to be getting, because it's going to be one of your biggest expenses when you're looking at your monthly, weekly budget. Okay, in Australia, people pay rent per week. So you get charged per week, even if you're going to be paying fortnightly or monthly, depending on the agreement that you have with your landlord or the agency that you're going to be going through. You are going to be paying per week. So if you're going to be, let's say for example, you're paying $300 per week for your accommodation, in a fortnight, that's going to be $600. If you convert that to South African rands, because I am still doing that, okay, it is going to be 6,000 rands per fortnight. It means that when you add 2 more weeks for it to be a month, you will be paying about 12,000 rands for accommodation. It is painful. It is very painful. And that's why I'm saying to you guys, get accommodation that is cheap enough, safe enough, and clean enough. And don't worry about the house being brand new and beautiful so that you can post it on Instagram and have nice pictures and all of that. Don't do that. Get a house that's going to be affordable, safe, clean, secure, so that you can then save your money to buy your own house, because you cannot be spending your money paying somebody else's mortgage. We are still trying to adjust from the rand to the dollar, so the jump is too big. But then again, this depends on the size of your family and what you guys are comfortable with. But do not rent things that are very expensive. Imagine renting a house that is $500 a week. It means that in a fortnight, you would have been spending 10,000 rands for accommodation. Do not do that. I know I'm converting to rands, but still, imagine paying $1,000 for accommodation just for a fortnight. You will not be saving much, and it really does depend on how much you're going to be getting as your salary. But when you're starting as an immigrant, usually you would have to start low because you are desperado of the desperados. So sometimes companies will take advantage of that. So you need to be very careful and very mindful of the accommodation that you're going to be getting. Don't stretch yourself very thin. Mind you, if you've got children, you still have to pay for daycare and all those kind of things. Also depending on the visa that you have, especially if you're not going to be getting any Centrelink support or any government assistance, it's going to be very brutal and painful for you. As much as possible, try to rent a house that is old, where the person is not even paying mortgage anymore, and they will not charge you crazy because they have built a new house. It's an old house, it's fine. And then you can start saving to buy your own house, because renting is dead money. Don't do that to yourself. You're still trying to make up for things of the past. So don't do that to yourself. It doesn't matter what kind of a house you live in. Nobody here knows you, so nobody really ever cares. And don't stress yourself. I really do recommend that you come here after you have found a job, because at least you have a place where you're going to be going. So even if you're looking for accommodation or you're doing research about that area, you know that it is this specific place that I am going, and that's what I'm going to be focusing on. It is very important, and I hope you guys start doing that today. And that's what me and my husband did when we were back in Africa. What we did was, every time we would apply for a job, and that's what I did because I wasn't employed sitting at home bored. So every time we'd apply for a job, or there's a job offer or something like there's something buzzing in that area, we've been looking at Victoria. We've looked at Victoria. I think we've looked at New South Wales. And then we ended up, I think, with Queensland after we made that decision that we're going to be going for Queensland. We want to live in Queensland. But there was a time when my husband was offered a job in Victoria. So during that time, I was researching that area. I think it was Mildura or something like that. Anyway, what I will say to you guys is that familiarize yourself with the map, okay? So take out your phone, go onto Google Maps and look at the Australian map. It's going to be your best friend before you come here. I think even when you come here, it's still going to be your best friend, because you are new. You don't know a lot of places. But trust me, even Australians don't know a lot of places here, because this place is huge. But as an immigrant, it is very important for you to have a targeted area as to, this is where I'm going to be working for the next year, for the next 6 months. I don't know what your contract will say, but this is where I'm going to be. So you do your research as in, okay, what is available there for me? And the other thing, the one tip that I will give you guys, and I hope you do use it, when you know that you've secured a job, let's say, for example, like with my husband, he had secured a job in Grafton, right? So the thing that we did not do, and I did not know that it was available at the time, but I'm telling you guys that it is available so that you can use it. Go onto Facebook and go to, I think it's like community groups. So maybe like put in there, like maybe say Grafton, Sunshine Coast, or whatever area that you're going to be going to. And then go look for like a community group, because they usually have community groups. And then when you go into the community group, usually they will ask you to send through a request saying why you want to join that group. And then you can always say, I'm going to be relocating there and I just want to find out information about the area. The admins are usually lenient people, so they will allow you into that group. And then when you get into that group, you can always ask a question as to, okay, fine, this is who I am. You don't have to provide a lot of details. I've seen this happening in our local community group, and that's why I'm suggesting it to you guys. So what people would usually do, but it's like usually we're having a lot of people that are coming from Victoria. So we get a lot of people who would be asking, okay, I'm coming from Victoria. How are schools there? What is available? How's the rental industry? How's the market? How's the competition? Usually there are a lot of negative comments, but if you're a very strong person, just ignore those and listen to the ones that are positive or the ones that are constructive, and avoid the nonsense. The nonsense, just note it as, okay, this is what I might be dealing with, but don't take it too much into heart, because it's just going to derail you. So do that where you ask questions, and sometimes you might be lucky where you find somebody saying, hey, I'm about to break my lease whenever, if you're interested, and they will let you know how the house looks like and yada yada yada. And you also are able to go onto that group and ask, is there anyone renting out homes or whatever? Usually people are very kind, where they will either link you to local, what do they call them? Local rental agencies, or the very famous ones that we are using here in Australia. They will usually suggest places where you can get rentals, and if they have friends or family that do like private rentals, then at least you have requested that information and hopefully somebody will come through for you. So that is the one tip that I will give you that is very important before relocating to a new place. Always join the community group. Leave the negativity, like don't dwell on the negativity. Just look for the positives out of it, because there's always a lot to learn there. Sometimes you can just be a ghost in that group where you're hoping that somebody will ask the question that you want, and then you'll just ride along. But yeah, that's one thing that you can do that would be really helpful. The other thing that I will tell you guys, especially people who are rich in third world countries, like in your countries like your South Africa and all of that, when you, and I've been saying this ever since I started the finance series, when you've got R1 million in South Africa, when you come to Australia, there is $100,000. So it will not get you that far. Trust me, it will not get you that far. But obviously, when you're coming from then Australia going to South Africa, if you've got 500,000, you've got 5 million there. So you are sitting very nice. So when you come here, I'm telling you guys, and I'm telling you now, when you come here, your money is gonna burn very quick. You will not believe it. You'll be like, I'm a Randy. So you have to be ready and prepared to downgrade. So if you were living in a schmick house, in a nga house, in Africa or South Africa or wherever, like third world country, wherever you're coming from, you might have to downgrade to a 2-bedroom or 1-bedroom house to accommodate your needs, whatever that you need, like immediately right now, and you will catch up later. So it's fine, you still catch up. But if you're going to come here and you're going to refuse to downgrade because you are a girl or a boy of standards, it's fine. Just be mindful of the fact that you will be burning through your money very quickly. So don't worry too much about what people are going to say, what people are going to think. These people don't even know you, so they don't even care if you live inside a shack. So you just make sure that you have a place to sleep. You've got a safe place where you can put your items and your belongings and all of that. You can rest well at night, go to work, come back, not stressing about bills and all of that, and then you are fine. That's all you should focus on literally in the first year of being an immigrant. Just you being okay. So do not stress yourself too much about renting a house that kind of meets the standards or whatever that you were living in when you were back home. There you were still trying to impress people that know you. It's fine. Here, nobody knows you here. So who are you trying to impress? And you cannot even do it for the gram. Like imagine paying very expensive rent just for Instagram. Hi, child. Don't do that. Do not do that. Stay away, very far away from that. When we came to Australia, we only rented twice, in Grafton and when we arrived in Harvey Bay. And we made sure that we only just got 2 bedrooms. The girls were sharing a bedroom and me and my husband were sharing a bedroom. It was enough. We did not want to get anything too big or anything like that. We did not even have a dishwasher in the 2 houses that we were renting. Like we did not even have anything in those houses. But that really did help us, because then when I went into my house and I had a dishwasher, I felt like I had accomplished something. But I feel like if I had been comfortable and had a house that had all those things, I would have been comfortable. I would have been like, why should I go anywhere else? So always rent a house where you will feel like I need to get out. I need to get out of here. I need to get out because I'm, number one, wasting my money. It's dead money. I should just dig a pit toilet and start putting dollars inside of there, because the renting is dead money. Especially if you're not the one that's going to be benefiting at the end of it. Do not do it. Buy a house as soon as you can. Something for your children. An investment. Something that you know by the time you're done paying, it is going to be in your name. Okay. So the next thing that I'm going to be doing is to just kind of like have a brief discussion with you guys about the process of renting in Australia. People that have rented in places like your Johannesburg, Pretoria, Cape Town, Durban, where people are doing things like under the regulations and contracts and all of that, you might be very familiar with this process. So number one, obviously, as you guys know, if this is something that you've done in the past, you would have to identify that particular rental. My suggestion is this: start looking for houses the minute you know that you have secured a job and you signed the contract and all of that, and you know that this is the place where you're going to be going. start researching the suburbs there, where you want to live, nearby schools and all those kind of things. Is it going to be closer to work? And as I've said to you guys, the one thing that's going to help you obviously in this situation is Google Maps. What I used to do is I would always do this. I'd go into Google Maps and I will look at a particular house, and I will then do this, like I'll open another tab and say the distance from this house to my husband's work, the distance from this house to a school, the distance from this house to the nearest bus stop, you know, those kind of things. And I would see what is around that house. It would help me with then picturing how that would be like. You would obviously not know until you get to Australia and get to drive around here, but for when you are still back home, like, or in another country, at least it builds that picture in your head for you to understand what you're working with. So what I did was to have a list of houses. I would have like the addresses and how much the rental is. So me and my husband, we had like a bracket where we're like, okay, this is how much we could afford when we were looking at how much we would be spending. So we did not want anything, I think, above 300. Yes, we'd always rent from like 300 going down. Yes, start then listing them down, even if you're not going to be applying for them as of yet. But as the time goes, like there's some rentals that are going to be taken. There's some that are going to be there for a very long time. The good thing about doing that is the ones that are there for a long time, you know that there's a huge chance that you might get them because they've not been getting successful applicants. However, be very careful of that because there's a chance that people are inspecting those places and they did not like them. But you're an immigrant, it's fine, you can suffer, it's fine. I'm joking, you don't have to, but you have to sometimes, just so you know, you just get to test your strengths. At least now you know, okay, this house has been on the market for a month or 2 months. What is wrong with this house? So when you go to inspect it, it's one of those ones where you have an alert on it to say, why don't people want this house? Why should I want it? So now you've got your visa, your flights have been booked, and you now know where you're going. You've got employment, right? So you can start booking inspection times. So with your inspections, obviously you're going to be doing your inspections during that 2-3 weeks when you're going to be in a motel or a short-term accommodation situation. So make sure that you have them back to back. But as I've explained to you guys, sometimes it's going to be very hard for these inspections to happen because of jet lag. And this is something that I've spoken about in my previous video. If you've not watched it, it's going to pop up just now. So I do recommend you go watch it. So you might also be struggling with jet lag, which is going to be a problem. Give yourself 2-3 days to kind of settle in before you go into inspections, or book inspections that are later on in the day and not in the morning because jet lag is going to show you flames. So booking your inspections, you can do them even when you are not yet in the country. That is okay, it is allowed. And then attend those inspections. Usually when you attend these inspections, they will give you application forms, but I think now after COVID, people are now doing it online. So you can still do that online. The other thing that I will suggest to you guys, and this is one thing that I did when I was working in Kunamble. It's a story for another day. But what I did was, because it was very far away from Grafton, I think it was about 7 hours. There was hell no way I was going to drive from Grafton to go inspect a house in Kunamble and go back to Grafton. Hell no. So what I did, I just trusted my instinct. I got accommodation. After getting accommodation, I asked the landlord to send me pictures of the accommodation, and he was very lenient. He was very nice because it was a very small town, like very, very, like that was like in the rurals for real. So he sent me pictures of it, and I was like, you know what, this for me constitute an inspection. I am fine. Whatever that doesn't work, we will deal with it when we get there. And then he allowed that to happen, and then I did my application, he granted it, and then I got my rental. There are some people that are lenient like that, so you might be able to secure accommodation before coming to Australia. You can do like a virtual inspection. I'm thinking that maybe after COVID, people would have maybe thought about that. I don't know, but it is something that you can explore. So once you found an accommodation, look at who is the person that is going to be renting it out to you, either through a rental accommodation or privately. Contact them and ask them if you are able to do a virtual inspection. I'm not sure if that thing even exists. I'm just thinking in my head that it might. I'm thinking it should be a thing that exists, especially for people who are immigrants. And if there's one thing that COVID has taught us, everything and anything is possible. So I'm hoping that people are now doing virtual inspections. The other thing that you have to be ready for is your deposit. Make sure that you've got your deposit. Deposits in Australia are very expensive. Number one, it's because sometimes rental agencies will want 4 weeks of rental. 2 to 4 weeks of rental. So if you are going to be renting a place that is $200, then you would have to pay $800. And mind you, $800, it's 8,000 rands. Oh, it's expensive, it's painful. It obviously goes up depending on how much you're going to be paying per week. Oh, the other thing there, my husband contributed this one. When you are an immigrant, obviously you do not have what do you call this thing, a rental history. So do state that in your application to say that you are new in the country, you do not have a rental history, so you don't have like a reference or anyone to say this person is good with renting or whatever. They must just trust you. So I believe you are able to put that into your application. The other thing, if you are an immigrant and you don't yet have a job, it's going to be a bit difficult for you to secure long-term accommodation. Reason being, when you are renting, they want to know if you've got a job or you've got like a source of income. Then you can make your rent. So my husband was saying that it is very important to have an appointment letter to say, okay, this is the contract, I've been employed by these people, and this is what's going to be going on, and that's why I'm looking for accommodation. It really does help to kind of like boost your application. That's why I say, guys, when you come here, before coming here, make sure that you've got employment, because you are going to need such documents to secure things like accommodation. I'm not too sure if you would be able to get accommodation even though you don't have a job. Maybe you might have to prove that you've got money. I don't know, man, but I'm pretty sure there are ways to work around it. However, I believe having an employment letter will make things a lot more easier for you. So really do think about getting a job before coming to this country. At least one person, like even if it's not like, if it's a couple, at least one person has a job before you guys come to this country. So guys, that's it from me today. We are still within the finance series, so we'll be talking everything money. So we'll still be talking finances, money, the dollar, and the cost of living in Australia. So stay tuned for more content, and I hope you learned something from this video. I will see you again next week. Goodbye.